Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and my team selection video for Game Week 31. We have a pretty short turnaround, so this video is coming out the day of the deadline for Game Week 31, so be aware it's a Tuesday deadline as they say in Britain. But yeah, before we go into my plans for Game Week 31, let's take a look at what happened in Game Week 30 and what happened with my team there. And I got 59 points in total. I did sell Foden to bring in Salah to be my captain. I had enough money in the bank to do that move, and I was pretty happy to do so because I was pretty happy selling Foden at this point because I can always bring him back, and he had a pretty tough fixture against Arsenal. And he ended up getting 3 points. Salah, as my captain, ended up getting 14 points in total, meaning he got 7 points on his own, double that with the captaincy. Could have had so much more, so I think that transfer was by far the best thing I could have done. Even though the result wasn't ideal, it was still a decent enough return from Salah. He didn't score quite as much as both Son and Palmer did, but I think he easily could have done so any other day. It was just really close for him, getting 12 shots still, which is a record for him in the Premier League. And only 1 goal. It was a great save by Bartford Rugen as well towards the end of the match for Brighton, which kept Salah out. And he missed a couple of easy chances as well. So in any other day, he could have scored a lot more points, like I just said. So yeah, either way, 14 points from Salah. Happy with that. Really happy, of course, with well, not really happy with Son because he actually hurt my rank by scoring that final goal and getting the bonus 3 points. From scoring the winning goal for Spurs. So he could have blanked, but got a really late goal, ended up with 10 points, more than Salah. That hurt me in terms of my rank. When it comes to Palmer, I got 15 points from him, which I'm happy with. I'm just glad that I have him, and I'm not one of those guys without him. But obviously, if I would have captained Palmer, that would have been another 8 points for me compared to what I did with captaincy for Salah. So that's a bit unfortunate, but at the same time, Salah was always going to be my captain. I think I'm just going to keep picking Salah in those types of matches, including next week when we play Sheffield United at home. Because I know Salah is just an amazing player, and yeah, I just trust him basically any game, and I don't like backing against him. Even this game where he only got 1 goal must have been a nightmare if he didn't have the captaincy armband on him, because yeah, he looked really threatening, really dangerous all the time. Easily could have had more points. My defense as well, pretty unlucky in general, I think. Areola, not so much. He was unlucky to get injured, so he had to be subbed off at the half. He did get 3 saves at least, which gave him a save point on top of the 1 appearance point that he had. So 2 points for him. The defense I was pretty unlucky with. I think Nori should have easily scored. He had a really huge chance that he missed early on in the game for Wolves. He was also looking a bit tired after playing 90 minutes in 2 games in a row for Algeria before or during the international break, so he was subbed off pretty early. But he had a really huge chance to score as well for Wolves, who lost to Aston Villa in the end, obviously. And then Gusto had several big chances, or he had a big chance. He had a big chance created, and some other chances created as well. Gusto against Burnley, against 10-man Burnley, where Chelsea really should have kept the clean sheet, but they conceded twice instead. So I think, again, same as with Salah, Aït-Nouri and Gusto easily could have had way more points, but it is what it is. Sabarni as well kept the clean sheet until the very, very end, but not really any teams kept the clean sheet this week. It was basically Aston Villa and then Arsenal and Man City, basically. So several people that had players held over from last game. Like if you didn't wildcard, if you had, for example, Konsa, who got a goal and clean sheet, 15 points from him. And then you had someone like Gabriel, for example, and potentially Ake, well, Ake had to be subbed off, but any other City defender that got a clean sheet as well. You got a lot of points this week, but I think I easily could have gotten a lot of points there. Sabarni conceded pretty late to Everton. Pretty needless goal, pretty poor from Neto. At least I didn't have Neto in goal, because that would have been devastating if I had both the goalkeeper and the defender losing the clean sheet from such a silly mistake from Neto. But yeah, I lost the clean sheet from Sabarni. Can't be a hero every week. He was a big hero for me in Game Week 28, but can't win them all, I guess, with Sabarni either. Saka, again, pretty not so good performance from him. 3 points from him in total. Didn't concede, obviously. Got a bonus point from that, or a clean sheet point from that. But didn't really do much other than that. He created 1 chance, I think, for Gabriel Jesus, and that was it, basically. So he's been a bit disappointing, but I think he has a really good match coming up now against Luton at home, where I think I can back him to be a really, really good player. He also has the double game week in Game Week 34. Which is the game week where I'm not looking to free hit, because I've used my free hit obviously in game week 29 already. So yeah, I'm going to keep Saka for the foreseeable future, and I hope that he will be a differential compared to everyone that wildcarded and that stuff in game week 30, or even wildcarding now in game week 31 and go without Saka in the squad. But 3 points this game week, not so happy about that. Haaland as well, 2 points against Arsenal. Really cagey affair, 0-0 match, really boring match between Arsenal and Man City. And both Haaland and Saka blanked while all the defenders got points, so that was basically a worst case scenario for me. Ollie Watkins with 1 point. He also had to be subbed off with an injury. Not too happy about that. He struggles with has been struggling a bit with some injuries lately, which is not ideal. And obviously that's why I'm looking to sell him this upcoming game week because yeah, he's it's time to go. He faces City now as well. Also has Arsenal in game week 33. He has some injury concerns as well. A lot of Manchester West Villa playing in the Conference League, on top of playing in the league as well. Obviously fighting for those Champions League places. So yeah, I think it's time for Watkins to go. He is pretty expensive and he's been super good this season, but I think it's time to let go because there are so many other good strikers that I'm going to talk about later in this video as well. Another good striker that I can talk about is Dominic Solanke, who scored a goal against Everton. That looked like being the winning goal for a while, but then Everton scored and deleted the clean sheet for Sabarni, and then Bournemouth scored again from a really stupid own goal from Seamus Coleman to give them the win. But Solanke at least got 7 points. Really happy with that, and I think Solanke can push on and score more goals in the upcoming game weeks and be a nice differential for me again compared to those that wildcarded and are looking to free hit in 34 and don't really need Solanke for those double game week fixtures in game week 34. So happy with him as well with 7 points. Dubravka on my bench with 1 point for Newcastle, did less than Areola at least, so I'm happy about that. Garnacho with 1 point, he also kind of looked bad. Man United looked bad in general and he got subbed off early, Garnacho as well, so 1 point for him, less than Saka. I was between Saka and Garnacho for who to bench, and I benched the correct player. Same goes for Brandwaite, 1 point for him compared to the 2 points that Sabarni got, so that also was an advantage for me. And then we have Gabriel in the end, who kept the clean sheet against City. And I could have probably seen this happen, and I think I should just back Gabriel in any game, basically, because Arsenal can keep a clean sheet in any game. He can score from a set piece in any game as well. So yeah, I think I should probably start him in future games. I probably should have started him over Sabarni, but at the same time, Sabarni was close to getting a clean sheet as well. So not the end of the world, that decision either. But yeah, that leaves me with 1,875 points. My overall rank is has taken a little bit of a hit again. Second week running that I've gotten a small red arrow. I was around 12k, about to push into the top 10k before game 29 on my free hit there. Got a small red arrow to 13k, and then this game week I got another small red arrow to 15.6k. So still in a pretty decent position, 10 points behind the top 10k currently. Not too bad, and I think my team is looking in pretty good shape for the future as well. So I'm not too worried. I think this game week could have easily gone a lot better for me, but that's FPL life basically. Sometimes you have luck, sometimes you don't have luck. This was one of those game weeks, kind of like game 29, where I didn't really have the best luck, but that could all change pretty quickly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the next few game weeks. But this was my regular team. I did free hit in 29, like I mentioned, but if I would have free hitted in game week 30, I would have had a different team because I presented that to you in the last week's team selection video. And I'm going to show you how that team scored in this video right now, actually. So this would have been my free hit game week 30 drafts. I think the one major standout here is the striker, Alexander Isak, who I said was the player that I really wish that I would have in my own squad, but he just doesn't fit my tactic of getting double game week players in game week 34 now, and then wildcarding in the likes of Isak, for example, for his double game week 37. From game week 35, I'll wildcard him in at that point. But at this stage, I'm going to have Holland. I'm going to have now Darwin most likely as my second striker. Potentially might go with someone like Cunha or Mateta as well. Bit of a spoiler for the team selection plan thing, or my plan for game week 30, or game week 31. But Isak is a player that I really don't like going without. At 15 points, amazing for him. Obviously 2 penalties, which was kind of lucky. 2 not so clear penalties either for my taste at least. Gordon is just an exceptional penalty hunter, basically sticking his leg out to be kicked, basically, and it worked twice. Second time especially was really dubious, I think. He basically just steps in front of Calvin Phillips, who's about to clear the ball, and he gets a penalty from that, which I think is kind of crazy, because I think if that would have happened in the other box, if that would have happened in Newcastle's box, where Calvin Phillips is on his way to shoot towards goal, and Palmer steps in front of him without getting the ball, and hinders Phillips from shooting, I think that would have been a penalty to West Ham. So kind of crazy that it ended up being a penalty after a VAR check, because the referee didn't give a penalty, VAR gave a penalty. Either way, that's my small little rant about West Ham Newcastle. I'm a West Ham fan, obviously, so I'm a bit salty about that game. But either way, Isak scored 2 penalties, also had a really nice assist to Harvey Barnes, and I think Harvey Barnes is going to be a huge boost for Newcastle. I think he's a really fantastic player. So Barnes and Gordon each side of Isak, I think that could be really lethal. So I'm actually sort of talking myself into buying Isak already, even though he doesn't have a double game week in 34. I might still do that, but I don't know. It just feels a bit weird to buy Isak when I can get a double game week player like Darwin, for example, who plays Sheffield United in this next upcoming game week. But it's something that I can consider at least. And 15 points, I was sort of proven right. He was my favorite differential in attack and got 15 points. Watkins blanked, obviously, just like he did in my team. But I also had Rodrigo Muniz against Sheffield United, and he scored again. So Muniz again, hats off to him for being such a good striker lately. Palmer I already talked about. Son and Salah I've already talked about. Madison blanked, 2 points for him. Pretty disappointing game for him. And Spurs in general, I think, barely eking out a 2-1 win against Luton was not really what I suspected. I expected him to be a bit more attacking minded and a bit more able to score goals basically against a pretty weak Luton side, but it wasn't meant to be. And the same goes for Udogie, 2 points for him in defense, not the best. Two Fulham guys in defense as well, pretty let down by both Leno and Robinson, getting 1 point each against Sheffield United. I did expect them to keep a clean sheet against Sheffield United, but that didn't really happen because Ben Brereton Diaz is looking like a really nice player. He's another player that I wish that I've sort of had as a differential on my wildcard drafts video. Both him and Guardiola, I think, are two pretty nice differentials if you want to go a bit outside the box. So that's just a little hot tip for you if you're a regular watcher of my videos and look into the middle of my team selection videos for my free hit draft, where I get to basically tell you a couple of gems, a couple of nuggets for what you can do in FPL if you want to play it a bit differently. But either way, this team ended up doing pretty well. I also had Bowen first bench. I did make a point out of the fact that I really like Bowen against Newcastle away. I think Newcastle are really bad defensively. Bowen as well could have had even more goals if David Moyes would have just played attacking football towards the end, but he basically invited Newcastle back into the game, and it cost West Ham dearly, going from a 3-1 win or 3-1 lead to a 4-3 or 3-4 loss basically against Newcastle, which was really unfortunate. But 10 points from Bowen. I think he was really a pick in that game week. Just a shame that he didn't start, especially seeing as Watkins only got 1 point after being subbed off pretty early. So I really wish Watkins, they would have just rested him for these past 2 games, because they basically done that as well. Didn't really do much against West Ham in game 29. Had to be subbed off in game week 30, so he's been a pretty big disappointment the last 2 game weeks in general. But all in all, 68 points from the free draft. I actually outscored my regular team. 59 points my regular team got, and 68 points my free draft got. So another win for the free drafts, but I think it's just really difficult. And for what it's worth, this was also my challenge team, FPL challenge. I'm gonna do that basically for the foreseeable future, or at least throughout the end of the season. I'll just pick the free hit drafts that I present to you here in this team selection video. I'm going to use as my FPL challenge team basically. So let's move on and see what my FPL challenge team and my free hit draft for game week 31 would be, and that's going to be shown right here. Right now, no, actually, hang on. That was the manager of the week. Let's actually go to the free draft instead before we go to the manager of the week. This is my draft for game week 31. It's loaded up with a lot of players having really good fixtures, obviously, because there's a free hit. There are obviously different rules in FPL challenge, but I'm just going to play it straight up as if it was a normal game, basically. Unless they have some challenge where they sort of restrict the rules a bit. Maybe they do that instead of doing like the unlimited budget thing that they did last week. But either way, in goal, I picked City goalkeepers. Didn't really have any other players to choose from. I already had triple Arsenal, already had triple Liverpool with the best fixtures. Could have gone with Jose Sa, I guess, against Burnley away, but I think Wolves have been susceptible to concede some goals. And Burnley have actually been able to score a couple goals lately as well. And Fofana's going to be back for this game, fully rested after not playing against Chelsea as well. So yeah, I prefer to have Man City goalkeepers because I think Man City are going to be a really good team currently, even though they do play Aston Villa. But this might be Aston Villa without Watkins as well. So I think it should be easier for either Ederson or Ortega to get a clean sheet. Ortega played last game. Don't really know yet if Ederson's going to play or not. So why not go with both players if you have a free hit and you have the opportunity to do so. So I'll get the City goalkeeper regardless, whether it's Ederson or Ortega, unless it's somehow Scott Carson or something like that. But most likely I'll get the City goalkeeper against Aston Villa at home. Pretty happy about that. Bradley against Sheffield United at home, I think it's a great fixture for him. He got 2 bonus points without getting an attacking return or a clean sheet last time. That just proves something about how attacking he is, how much of a bargain he is now that Jonathan Alexander-Arnold is out. But Trent is on his way back, so this will most likely be the final or penultimate game for Bradley, for now at least. But Sheffield United at home, you can't really ask for a better fixture, and I think he can score a lot of points in this game week. So Bradley is a pretty easy pick. Gabriel is someone that I should pick pretty much every week, and especially now that they're facing Luton at home. This is a team that they can easily score against. Gabriel, he can score in that game. Luton are surprisingly quite effective at scoring goals offensively. They have scored pretty much every single game since around game week 10, 11, 12, around that point. So could very well get another scrappy goal Luton, but at the same time they're also playing Arsenal, which is the best defensive team in the league. So I think Gabriel has a decent chance of getting a clean sheet as well. Aït-Nouri has just been absolutely super attacking lately, and yes, he has been struggling a bit with fitness and stuff, so maybe there's a bit of a concern there. But at the same time, that could also mean that he gets subbed off around 70 minutes and he gets a clean sheet before they concede late in the game, for example. And he can also score goals and assists as well, as he's shown in previous weeks. And I have pretty high hopes for Aït-Nouri this game week as well. And he's in my own draft, he's in my own team as well, which I'm pretty happy about. Salah captain again. Pretty easy choice. Salah at home is usually my captain regardless, and playing the worst team in the Premier League in quite some time at home is even better for Salah. So I think he's going to get a massive score, and he's definitely someone you should look to get in for Game Week 31. Son as well, West Ham away. I think that's a pretty good fixture for him. I think he has a really good chance to score. So he makes a pretty draft as well. He's another player that I have in my own team, myself as well. This midfield in general is pretty much like the template midfield, apart from one pick, who is my favorite differential, who I'll get to. But Saka, obviously, have to have him as well. Luton at home, really good fixture. He did limp off once again against Man City. It's sort of his signature now, Saka limping off towards the end of the games where he hasn't really been that impressive. The same could be said about Haaland, by the way, who I have in my team as well. I think Saka and Haaland are way too much, are people that go missing way too much in the big games, basically. So, but this is not really a huge game in terms of who they're facing. Luton at home, I think that's a really good fixture for Arsenal, and I think Saka, he usually plays unless there's something really, really wrong. So I think he's going to play 60 minutes plus at least, and in that time he's going to be able to score a couple goals, potentially get some assists against Luton. I think that's a really good fixture. It's such a good fixture, in fact, that I think, for offensive players at least, that I've doubled up on Arsenal attackers. So I think Kai Havertz has been looking pretty good lately. Didn't really do much against City, but not many people did anything in that game offensively after all. But Havertz has been in really a fine form. He's playing up front most of the time. Gabriel Jesus played this last time, but still, I think Havertz is one of the favorites to play up front. With Martinelli back, I think Gabriel Jesus is more at risk of losing his place than Havertz as well. So this could be a really nice final game for Havertz as well before Arsenal gets some tougher fixtures and go without double game weeks apart from 34. But I think Havertz is a really nice differential punt for this game week as well. Palmer playing against Man United at home, I think that's also, as always, a really nice fixture. Man United looked terrible against Brentford, so I could easily see Palmer tearing them to shreds, as he has done with most teams lately. So Palmer is actually still another potential captaincy option, but I think Salah is basically the main guy. But Palmer is really, really good and could easily get another double-digit haul and go up front as the lone leader in double-digit hauls this season, which is kind of crazy for such a cheap player that started playing fully in like game week 3 or 4. Just about. So yeah, Palmer is amazing. Strikers, Darwin at home to Sheffield United. I just can't let that opportunity slip away from me. Darwin didn't look that good against Brighton, but I think against Sheffield United he has more of a chance to prove himself if he gets to play. I think it's pretty likely that he starts. I think Liverpool now, with being in the front driving seat now after Arsenal and Man City drew, I think they want to push on and win some matches, and they have a pretty easy draw in the Europa League as well. So maybe they'll play a Leicester side there. Finally, they didn't do that in the second leg against Slavia Prague, which was kind of crazy because they were leading 4-1 after the first game, and they still put out like the best possible 11 almost for the second game, which was kind of baffling to me, especially seeing as how Jurgen Klopp had he was really annoyed with the question about the fitness levels of Liverpool players after that. So yeah, I don't know why he started a full team in that game, but maybe he can rest some more players in the Europa League, for example, rather than resting them in the league. So I think Darwin has a really good chance of starting, but it could be Cody Gakpo. But I don't know. I think if Darwin starts, he's just too good to pass up against Sheffield United at home. Isak again as well. Everton at home. Newcastle sort of have to score at will because they have such a bad defense this game week, or not even this game week, but this season. So I think Isak will get plenty of chances to score. Harvey Barnes into the lineup as well. That's going to help him even more, like I mentioned earlier in this video. So Isak is a really, really good shout as a striker as well. Backup goalkeeper, obviously Moreno for Ederson in case Ederson doesn't make it. I got Højlund from Man United. I think he can score against that Chelsea defense that conceded twice against Burnley with 10 men. Højlund could easily score in that game as well, so he makes the bench for this game. Gusto is slightly injured potentially. We don't really know yet the full extent of his injury, but I just want to highlight him as a really good option if he's fully fit and healthy to play, basically, because he's super attacking and has shown to be a really good attacking force for Chelsea in general this season, especially with Reece James being out. Destiny Dogi as well makes the final bench spot. I just think he's an attacking fullback that I really, really like, even though he plays against West Ham. So I hope he doesn't really do much in that game, obviously, but I think he has a decent chance of getting an assist potentially, and maybe even a clean sheet against a pretty, sometimes at least, hapless West Ham team that have a lot of talented players offensively. But yeah, I quite like Udogi as well. That's basically the free hit drafts. Now let's move on to the manager of the week, because we haven't had a FPL Scope podcast this week either, where I usually talk about the manager of the week. So I have to do it in this team section video. And the manager of the week is actually a familiar name for me, Leonard Kasiandima, who I've seen be manager of the week previously as well. Has a pretty damn good rank as well at 29k. Not quite as good as my own rank, but still pretty hard to do that. But yeah, really good rank, really nice green arrow, obviously, with a gaming rank of 31k. This game week with 83 points. And this manager also activated their wildcard in this past game week, which a lot of people did, to be fair. But this was a really nice, nicely picked team. It was actually just 1 point more than Justin Long, one of my viewers, who had a pretty similar team to my own wildcard team, with just a few exceptions based on the comments that I had and talks with me in the comment section. So he picked up a really good team that ended up with 82 points, was really close to being manager of the week, and I really wanted that to be the case, because I would have been able to talk about the team that I basically chose. So yeah, I think this team is really good. Obviously, Isak, Solanke, Muniz has controversially gone without Haaland. Has a lot of money in the bank as well, so that will be interesting for the next few game weeks. The other really interesting thing to note with this team is the fact that every chip has been used now with the wildcard. Wildcarding game week 30, triple captaining game week 25 on Haaland, I presume, bench boosting game week 20, and then the free hitting game week 29. So this was actually a pretty interesting tactic. Free hitting in 29 and then wildcarding in game week 30. Not that many people have done that, and I think this the team that was wildcarded away from was still a pretty good team, but this team obviously got 83 points. Luis Diaz especially was a really shrewd signing, 10 points from him. Diaz has been really, really good lately, so I think he's a really nice option as well for any of you guys, especially those of you guys looking to have a double game week 34 player. Diaz is a fantastic pick in midfield. He ended up with 10 points. Salah 14 points, Son 10 points, Palmer 15 points, the usual suspects basically. Isak with the 15 points that I mentioned previously, Solanke with 7, and Muniz with 6 after scoring a bicycle kick basically for Fulham. So yeah, really good team, but even still, the defense didn't really do much. Leno with 1 point, Gusto with 1 point, Pedro Porro and Udogi with 2 points each. But that ended up being enough for 83 points total, which means that Leonard Kasiandima is the manager of the week once again, and is doing pretty well so far this Premier League or this FPL season. So let's take a look at the team for next week and see what we could potentially do with that team and the transfer funds available. So this is the team for next week. Obviously, just wildcarded, so they should have a really good squad. There's a bit of an issue with Gusto potentially being injured, so maybe you need to swap him out anyway. But seeing as you've used all your chips, you can't really have triple Spurs going into Game Week 34 where they blank, obviously. So I think the main thing I would do were to sell Pedro Porro and buy Virgil van Dijk, who you know is going to start this game and also going to start in the foreseeable future. Bradley is someone that is really nice as a 1 week punt, but he's not going to be a long-term pick because Trent Alexander-Arnold is going to take over his place again at right back. But Virgil van Dijk is going to play against Sheffield United, have a really good chance of scoring a header in that game because Sheffield United are really bad at defending set pieces. And Van Dijk is someone that can easily score from a corner, just like he did a couple game weeks back as well. So Van Dijk is a really nice option, I think. And I think I would sell Pedro Porro, but if Gusto is out for a long while, maybe you should sell Gusto instead. But that also, I think, maybe Pedro Porro to Van Dijk, I think, is something that this manager can afford and still be able to do Isak or Solanke to Haaland next game week if that's the plan. Because with 8 million in the bank and no Haaland, I think it just stands to reason that Haaland's going to be brought in at some point. I just don't know for who exactly. Is it going to be for Isak, who plays a double game week in 37 only, doesn't double in 34, seeing as this manager doesn't have a free hit in 34? I think keeping Solanke would make more sense. Obviously can't afford to do Muniz to Haaland either, so that's not really an option either. So I don't know. Is the plan here to buy Haaland? Let me know if you're watching this video, Leonard. Because yeah, I'm really intrigued by you having so much money in the bank and what you're going to spend it on. Because it seems pretty natural to me that you're going to do the Haaland move. But for me, with one free transfer and a shitload of money in the bank, basically, I think I would sell one of the Spurs defenders, most likely Pedro Porro for me, because he's a bit more expensive, and I think Udogi is just better FPL-wise in general this season. So yeah, I think selling Pedro Porro and buying Van Dijk, you don't really have to spend too much money on doing that either. I think that's the most sensible move to do here, because Van Dijk is going to be really, really good, especially for this game week, but also beyond that as well. With the double game week game 34, I think is a natural pick for you without your free hit this game week. So those would be my plans for you this week. And that leads me to the final part of this video, and that's my current plans for my own team. And as you can see, I also have Malo Gusto, who is flagged with a yellow flag. He has a bit of a hamstring issue, so he is a bit of a doubt to play the game. But luckily for me, he's probably going to start, or he's going to be out of the game completely. And that would leave me with either some points from Gusto playing against Man United, or if he doesn't get to play, I have Sabarni coming in against Crystal Palace at home, which I think is a pretty decent fixture as well. So I don't really mind that either. So I'm pretty happy about the situation. I don't really have many yellow flags. Watkins is another one that is struggling and has been having some issues, but he's the one that I'm always been likely to sell this game week anyway. So those are my three suggestions. Basically, I want to sell Watkins and I want to buy someone that doubles in game 34, ideally, because I'm gonna dead end into 34 and then wildcard out of it in 35. I might still pick up Isak though, just because I really like him as a player and FPL pick, but I think with him not having a double game week, I think it's kind of a waste, because you can get players that play 2 matches or 1 match extra compared to Isak. So yeah, I'm leaning more towards doing the Darwin move, just because I think his ceiling is much higher than everyone else playing against Sheffield United at home. But I thought that last season as well, I had one of the earliest games when he got a red card pretty early. I thought he was going to be really good for that game. So maybe that happens again. Maybe he gets a stupid red card this time around to the detriment of a lot of FPL managers. But yeah, we'll see what happens basically. But yeah, Watkins is probably my favorite choice. But if Cunha, who is apparently in the squad and is going to be involved in the match against Burnley, if there's confirmation that he's going to start for Wolverhampton against Burnley, I might go with him instead and have enough money to bring in Trent Alexander-Arnold a bit earlier in game week 33, have him for 34 obviously, and spread the money more around rather than just paying another pretty mid-price expensive striker basically for that position. But yeah, I haven't really decided that. Mateta is also another player that I could consider. He scored a really nice goal for Crystal Palace, really nice shot. Seems like he's kind of loving life under Oliver Glasner, the new manager at Crystal Palace, so he could be a pretty lethal option as well, and a bit of a differential as well. I quite like Mateta, and they have a pretty good double game week 34 set of matches. But before that, he has pretty tough matches, apart from maybe this next one. Bournemouth away should be decent enough to score on, even though Bournemouth, sorry, my mind just blanked there a little bit. But yeah, they could easily score against Bournemouth, Mateta, so just like Everton did. So yeah, Mateta is a decent option as well. But yeah, in general, quite like my team. Don't really have any huge issues here. Benching Garnacho is pretty easy this game week, especially coming off that performance against Brentford. I have Salah, Son, Saka, Palmer. I really like them. I like Watkins. No, I don't really like Watkins because I'm going to sell him, but I like Haaland quite a lot as well against Aston Villa at home. And Solanke against Crystal Palace at home is also a really nice fixture. So Watkins out is the main move for me. It makes the most sense for me. I will earn money from that. I will get a player that has a double game week in game week 34, and I'll have a pretty good player for this game week as well, especially if Darwin is starting against Sheffield United. So I'm pretty happy about those transfer possibilities for me. But yeah, for the goalkeeper and the rest of the bench, I have Areola as my backup goalkeeper. He's also sort of struggling with a slight injury. He had to be subbed off last game, so maybe he doesn't get to play anyway. But I might as well just play Dubravka because he has an easier fixture than Areola, who plays against Spurs at home, basically. But yeah, benching Garnacho, like I said, Sabarni is ready to come on if Gusto's not ready to play. And then finally I have Branthwaite against Newcastle away, which is not the best fixture for a defender, so that's why he's third bench basically. But yeah, pretty excited for my squad, pretty excited for game week 30. Hopefully I can get a green arrow again after 2 quite disappointing game weeks that looked pretty good on paper at least. But this one looks really good on paper as well, and yeah, I'm just excited to see what happens basically, and see what happens with my striker as well, if Darwin is going to play after all, or if the fixture congestion is going to come into play at this point of the season where a lot of teams will be struggling to put out the same team every single week. So yeah, we'll see what happens basically with that. But that's pretty much the end of the video. Thank you for watching. This has been the Game Week 31 team selection video. I hope you subscribe if you haven't already and like this video, because it would really help me with the algorithm and stuff, and maybe grow my fan base a little bit more. Still trying to get to those 1,000 subscribers, which would be amazing. My goal is always going to be top or 10k subscribers, or the top 10k basically in the league. That's going to be my goal. But yeah, pretty happy in general about my squad, and also this YouTube channel and my videos here. I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to do with the YouTube channel. So give me a like or a subscribe if you haven't already for that reason basically. But that's it for me. Thank you for watching. I was sort of doing this on autopilot. I haven't slept that much going into today, so my mind is a bit of a blank. That's why I sort of lost it in the middle there for some reason. Don't worry, there's nothing wrong with me. It's just sleep deprivation, basically. I'm going to go to sleep pretty soon, and that's going to be really, really nice before I go to work tomorrow. So either way, that's me rambling at the end of the video like I usually do, which is a sign of good health, I guess, for me, even though I've been struggling with a bad back a bit lately, but it's also getting better. So everything's going better. Hopefully FPL as well is going to turn around and be even better for me after a pretty good season so far for me in general. So with that out of the way, thank you for watching once again. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.